Hello, welcome to another Looney Tunes review video. If you are new to the channel, make sure you subscribe to follow my journey to review all 1000 classic Looney Tunes shorts and give this video a like as well. So this is a review for the Fractured Leghorn, and with me today is my fellow Leghorn, Matt Hunter. Say hi.
Hey, I say howdy, boy.
Howdy. See, I'm not going to do it. I'm terrible at it. Howdy. Howdy, y'all. I don't know. I mixed up Kentucky and Texas in one sentence. That's how bad I am. See, there you go.
Well, I say so does Foghorn Leghorn. He's kind of a blend of all the South of the United States of America. You know what I'm saying, boy?
I guess so. So this is the Fractured Leghorn, released on the 16th of September, 1950. It had a Blue Ribbon reissue sometime in 1958. It's the 599th in the series, and it's directed by Bob McKimson. I believe this restoration is just on HBO Max. Is that correct, Matt?
I think so, yeah. It turned up when HBO Max came on, and I don't know that it's available anywhere else, actually, except for this version that we're watching now that somebody downloaded for us.
Yep, thank goodness for that person. Warners, if you're watching, please release these on disc, please.
Give us a hard copy, come on.
Exactly. Throw us a bone here, exactly. Or in this case, a worm. In terms of synopsis, because, I can't show you the full cartoon here, a cat is trying to catch a worm in order to catch a fish, but Foghorn is trying to catch the same worm for his lunch. So, very straightforward. We would just get a lot of shenanigans between the cat and Foghorn. In terms of trivia, there's not really much. There's really one major one here, and that this is a Foghorn Leghorn short that's a little bit unusual because it doesn't feature the Barnyard dog. See, the Foghorn shorts would usually have Foghorn, the dog, and some sort of a third character like Henry Hawk or someone, but here it's just Foghorn and the cat that McKimson has been using recently, which we'll discuss in a moment. But there's another reference that maybe some people overseas may not be aware of, and that's of course the,
Give me that! Who do you think you are, George Washington?
What's that reference, Matt?
Well, there was a story, kind of an old folk tale about the first president of the United States, George Washington. And the story was that when he was a kid, he had a hatchet and he chopped down a cherry tree. And I guess his parents really loved that cherry tree. And we're like, well, who chopped down the cherry tree? And it was, I cannot tell a lie. I chopped down the cherry tree. And it was to prove that George Washington was honest. Most people think that story was made up, but there it is.
It's like what the story says, you cannot tell a lie. If you think it's hogwash, well, there you go. It's like hogwash, son. This one is an unusual short because, it's got this cat that McKimson is been using. I mean, what do you think that McKimson just didn't want to use Sylvester? Because it's kind of weird, isn't it?
Well, it is, because they had used Sylvester. Sylvester had been in a previous cartoon that was called Crowing Pains, and that was with the Barnyard dog and with Henry Hawk. And I think, you could probably tell me if I'm wrong, but this is the first Foghorn cartoon that doesn't feature Henry Hawk or the Barnyard dog at all.
Correct.
This is a new direction, I guess they were trying. They were trying to, you notice the title card says Foghorn Leghorn. They were trying to establish him on his own as a star, and I guess they thought maybe this generic cat that McKimson had been using around this time would be a better fit than Sylvester, because he wouldn't really, overpower Foghorn. And you also think that, Sylvester was getting a lot of mileage around this time because McKimson was doing him with Hippity Hopper, the kangaroo. Then you had Friz Freleng, of course, pairing him with Tweety, the most famous Sylvester cartoons. And then, you had solo Sylvester cartoons. And I think at one point in a year, they were doing 5 or 6 with Sylvester. And they said, you know what, maybe we just need a generic character that's not Sylvester. So I think that's why McKimson put this cat in there. And he actually appeared again in another cartoon with Henry, the Hawk, and he's got the dog in that one as well. They kind of worked him into that one.
Because they used him recently in It's Hummer Time, and this cat's also going to be in Early to Bet, so...
Right, yeah.
He uses him quite
and he never had a name, and he's just the generic cat. And I think maybe they did it just because he's not Sylvester.
And in this cartoon, you could easily change this cat for Sylvester. In fact, at the very end of the cartoon, you hear his voice only once, which is, of course, the usual, shut up, at the very end.
Which Sylvester had done in Crowing Pains. Hits him with the axe handle. Shut up!
You're not sharp. You gotta always, I say you gotta always listen. Shut up!
So basically it's saying, shut up, where without all the slobber in this case. So,
yeah.
But it's really, really weird. But that's not to say this cat's bad or anything. It's just an interesting thing. It's like, well, why this cat, not another character? And a similar cat was in an earlier short, a Porky Pig short, and he was called the Supreme Cat. But I think it's just a different generic cat in any case. So with this short, I mean, let's take a look at it directly, because I love the nice touch in the beginning, how you got the fish hooks on the toes. As we hear on the waterfall. And
I like this cartoon a lot, and I think maybe because it's so different from the usual Foghorn formula, I think one of the best Foghorn Leghorn cartoons is Henhouse Henry, but that is totally the formula, with the dog and Henry and all that, but this is a little different. And I remember seeing this as a kid, and it stood out to me. I laughed because it is Foghorn as a character turned up to, 11. He is as obnoxious as he's ever been.
Yeah, telling this cat to shut up when he's the one doing all the talking. It's crazy.
Nothing worse than a blabbermouth cat.
Exactly right. And this cat's just trying to get a word in edgewise, but no. The only thing he says in the whole cartoon is that, shut up. So we get that nice little cap at the end, as I mentioned.
Yeah.
And I know what I'm talking about because shut up!
But one thing I pointed out to you didn't realize, and I think people just don't realize because they're just taken for granted in these sort of cartoons, is the note from the fish. Two things. One, why is the note dry? And two, how did the fish write that note? It's just you just take that for granted.
You write a note on paper underwater, and you never see the fish. So, we don't know what they're doing down there.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't make things bad or anything in the short. Quite the contrary, it makes it even funnier because, maybe that's the joke, son. How these fish write the note.
I'll say that's a joke, son. Joke, that is.
That's right. I like the wheel contraption, which is kind of a callback to some of the Foghorn shorts, when Foghorn would be creating these contraptions to go after the barnyard dog. But here it's a little different because it's the cat that has
cat's doing it.
Yeah. He does that and does that wonderful paint part at the end. It's an interesting contraption. I wonder if the cat just had that put aside for something else and just repurposed it. I don't know. I'm overthinking it clearly in this case.
I like the bit kind of right before that where Foghorn gets in the cat's face and he backs him up and they go all the way up and over a ladder.
Yes.
I think that's funny.
Yes, indeed. And speaking of overthinking, like you see for a split second that the cat has a pistol against the worm. So it does make you think, well, why didn't, if you really wanted the worm so bad, why didn't he pull out that gun before against Foghorn? It's like, get lost, Rooster, and, well, then again, we'd have no cartoon, would we? But the gun just appears for 2 seconds, and it disappears entirely in the next shot. It's just one of those.
Makes you wonder, is the cat licensed to carry? Does he have a permit?
Exactly. Nah, because we're not overthinking it, clearly not. But I got to ask you guys in the South, because you're from Texas, do you, or does any of your state neighbors say, well, hog gravy and chitlins?
Well, hog gravy and chitlins.
When you're exclaiming something.
Well, I say hog gravy and chitlins. No, I have never heard anybody say that, but that is definitely a Southern-ism, not specific to Texas maybe, but maybe if you were in Kentucky or South Carolina somewhere, they might say that. Of course, chitlings or chitterlings are basically pork rinds, I think. It's like, but made from pork intestines, as far as I know. And then, of course, hog gravy is just, pork gravy. But I don't know. It's just sounds like a Southernism to me.
It sounds like something Mel Blanc just made up on the spot, to be honest. It could be real, but it could be that he just made it up because he was so good at doing all these dialects and picking up all these isms from different things. I think it's made up. But if it's not, if you're from Kentucky or near or South or North Carolina or whatever, and let us know. Do people actually say that, or do they say something very similar to that? Because they probably do.
Now, that in Texas, though, the tire pump bit might be a little more apt. There's no oil in this ground. Geology of the ground's all wrong. Even if you had oil, you'd need a drill, not a tire pump.
I don't know. I think this cartoon is really, really funny and so on.
I remember there was a gag that was cut a lot, which is the cat putting his mouth on the tractor, the exhaust pipe. That was cut from TV for good reason, because I think, they were talking about easily imitated behavior. Like, I don't know why anybody would do that, but if you do, it would kill you. So probably that's why they cut it. But it's kind of like, wow, you see that uncut, and I don't remember seeing that on TV. So there's that.
Yeah, it's a funny gag, but I do get why you wouldn't want to show it to kids, I mean, I'm not a monster, I mean, I'm against censorship, but I'm also like, come on, guys, you wouldn't show that to kids either.
I'm glad to see it uncut, but just I could see why somebody on Saturday morning TV would want that not on there.
Exactly, right. As an added bonus, here is a brief snippet from a discussion I had with Robert McKimson Jr., along with Camden Spees. It's very brief, but yeah, someone isn't a fan of this short. I mean, another short that came out, so 1950, of course, is a Fractured Leghorn, which obviously it's not the first Foghorn Leghorn.
I chose that specifically just because of the Foghorn Leghorn.
I mean, what are your thoughts on Fractured Leghorn as a short?
It is possibly my least favorite Foghorn because Henry Hawk's not in it and the Barnyard Dog's not in it. It is, to me, it's not Foghorn playing with a worm. No, it's not my favorite at all.
We can blame Manny Cruz for picking this one on picking the other Foghorn.
Okay, of course.
To me, it wasn't Foghorn. Foghorn to me was Henry and Barnyard Dog and playing off of each other. And this one, it did nothing for me.
I just think it's a really, really funny cartoon, and I particularly like the way they did Foghorn in this one. I would, as far as your ratings go, I would give it a 9 out of 10. I think it's hilarious.
Yeah, I would be around that ballpark, kind of either 8.5 or 9. I thought this was very solid. It was funny, and Foghorn makes this cartoon. It would not work without his bombastic vocalizations here by Mel Blanc. I just think, yeah, it's a solid cartoon, and I would even call it a hidden gem in a sense because it's not released on home video, at least not this beautiful restoration. And so I think, yeah, this one is definitely one to rediscover. So definitely sign up to HBO Max while it's still around, I guess, and give it a watch for sure.
And Foghorn holding back the closing ring so he can get the last word is one of the greatest endings to a Warner Brothers cartoon ever.
Yes, exactly right. And I guess me and you are going to try and outfight who's going to get the last word of this review, but, but in any case, that will do it for this one. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care.
I'm not one that has to keep talking. Some fellas just have to keep their mouths flapping, but not me. I was brought up right. My pa used to tell me shut up, and I'd shut up. I wouldn't say nothing. One time darn near starved to death. Wouldn't tell him I was hungry.